All right, welcome back, everybody, for a new episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those books that could still be tucked away in those back issue bins at your LCSs, at your shops, wherever you do your comic book purchases, where you're hunting. These aren't the hot books that are up on the wall on a hot 10 list. These are just books that could be forgotten about, could be underpriced, that are probably just sitting there, tucked away in a box somewhere at an LCS. Hopefully, you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. Got a whole slew of videos coming out again every week. Basically every day we're trying to shoot for something. And if you want to see what books I'm ready to talk about this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro and I will be right back. All right, so I have a few minutes here before we start the Star Wars show this Sunday evening. So I've decided to try to film this a day early and get Hidden Gems all ready for tomorrow's release. This week, I'm going to start off as we have been in the last few weeks with the quick artist retrospective. Now, which artist am I going to target this week? Well, she's got a book coming out this week, so I figured, you know what? Now's a good time to take a quick look at Ashley Witter. Yes, Variants is coming out next week, or this week, I guess this Wednesday, I believe, or maybe it's next week. Anyway, this book is coming out. This is the 1 in 25 incentive variant for it. This is, again, Ashley Witter. Should be an interesting little series. She has done quite a few covers. She's probably most well known recently for some of the Dr. Aphra, variant that she did. There's also that High Republic variant that heated up quite a bit for a little while there as well. But she has been working for quite a long while now, even though it seems like a newer name to a lot of collectors. She's been around a while, going all the way back to 2012 when she was doing these graphic novels, like these trade paperbacks, these Anne Rice adaptations. You can see there, art and adaptation by Ashley Marie Witter. She did the whole thing. And she also did this Scorch, another trade paperback. She was doing like graphic novels, like inside and out, cover all the way through, back in those early days. That's like a decade ago now. But she's been working pretty steadily ever since, even if you haven't noticed. Then she went in a couple of years later to Squarriors. You guys remember this series? These squirrel warriors. It's kind of a bloody, look at this. I mean, look at this cover. Look at the bloody axe that this little squirrel has as he took down another one. And look at the depth of that image. And that is Miss Ashley Witter, if you did not know that already. These are Devil's Do Entertainment books. So these are 2014. So it's been a while. She did this whole run of Squarriors here with all these other animals, featured there as well. So she had an interesting start. It wasn't all superhero fare. It wasn't all Star Wars books or anything like that. She really made the rounds early on with doing those novel adaptations and then, anthropomorphic. I can't even say it right. You know what I'm saying. The animals acting like humans. But this Warriors run is you can still probably find these out there. These are not expensive books. These are still pretty cheap books. And for being her first, I believe, actually like comic work, you can still probably find these for pretty cheap. Granted, you can see sets 1 through 4, $20, and then just issue 1, $1.22 at auction. Granted, you had to pay they had to pay shipping on this, but still, not an expensive book or series for you to go and hunt. So you can probably still find these out there for pretty cheap if you're interested, as I am, in collecting the early works of a lot of these artists. I think it's a fun little thing to do. I like it for my PC. I just like collecting this stuff. Sometimes they can be quite pricey, as we got to the Jenny Frison stuff last week, but sometimes you can still get stuff relatively cheap. I mean, look, a 9.6 for Warriors 1's it's under $50, and $6 for an issue 1. And like I said, you can see whole lots and runs for like $20. It's not and that expensive to pick these up. These are like cover price and less that you can still find them. You might even find these in the dollar bin if you go digging. Following that, she also worked on this, 2015 Bloodthirsty, One Nation Underwater. This is with Titan. So again, she's making her way around the indie publishing scene here. And this, you can see with vampires and blood and a lot of gore and pretty interesting. Pretty interesting images here. Like some of these are really, really cool. So keep an eye out for these ones too, as this, again, early stuff that she did. None sold recently. There's not a lot of people looking, for this series, but copies out there, again, $3 to like $9. They're not expensive books. It's a weird little run. It's probably not going to be a lot of copies, not heavily printed. But if you've come across them, you again might find these even in dollar bins if you are lucky. So moving on. She also worked on Assassin's Creed books early on. Not a lot, just a couple, but these are a couple of covers that I really kind of like, actually. And you can see her style, kind of what we are now familiar with today, kind of coming into shape more than those earlier works. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell with a squirrel face, but you can see here, I think, in this Assassin's Creed #1. This is from November of 2015, actually. I think it might have come out in 2016, but this is the UK PX exclusive, the previous exclusive. So this can be a little harder to find, and it's a UK book, so we might even have a lot of copies over here on this side of the pond, but it's still a book you should be aware of and keep an eye out for. Granted, no copies have sold on this one recently, so I couldn't get you a market, nor were there any that I could find available to kind of grab a copy, because I kind of do want this one. I kind of like this cover. So I'm looking for this one, and we'll see if I come across one as well. So no idea what this one might cost, but it's one of those things. Maybe it's tucked away in a box somewhere. Keep an eye out for it. I mean, look for that Union Jack flag down below for this variant edition. Now, I understand. This could be a tougher ask. I mean, there's no copies there, no copies sold. One even could argue this could have been on the ghost list for this week. So let's go with a regular title then for Assassin's Creed. So if you don't want to talk about the variant, we can go with this issue of Assassin's Creed, which is also a pretty cool cover. Issue 6 of the Titan Comics run once again. So it's $3.99 cover in 2016. You can see, again, no copies have sold for this book. It's just not one of those things that's in demand, nor are there copies available. But I don't think it's because this is like an impossible to find book. I think it's just one of those things that people just don't list because no one is really looking for Assassin's Creed comic books right now. But you might find them offline at a shop near you, just tucked in a box, maybe on a wall somewhere. Who knows? But it's one of those things. Go ahead, dig, see what you can find out there. We're going to get a little weird one here, but I kind of like this cover, even though I don't really like a lot of these homages that have come about, but Patriotica has a lot of interesting covers where a different artists were doing like homages to much more famous works like Hughes covers and what have you. But this is still pretty an interesting cover. I mean, it's very, very patriotic for Patriotica, but this is issue 3. And I think there's also like a metal version of this one as well. This is definitely more recent. I just threw this one in just because it just kind of caught my eye. This was from 2019. And you can see the metal version of this sold for almost $50, but usually those metal covers sell for around that. So that's not too surprising. But a regular issue, around $10 for this. This is one of those things. It's good if you collect an artist's like entire library or try to. This is one of those off-title weird books that you might miss or forget about. So that's why I decided also to kind of throw it in here, because sometimes there's some oddball works out there from some of your favorites, and it's just good to be aware so you know what else you need to find outside of the normal run-of-the-mill type stuff. And granted, this regular issue, you can see copies, you can get it for $4, $5, $7, basically around cover, maybe a tiny bit more, but not that expensive when you really dig into it. Now, probably her most well-known run, at least I would think, is probably her run on Afra. She did a really long run on that first volume of Afra. I want to say somewhere from issue 14, I think was the start, and I think she ran through the end of the series, which ended in the early 40s, I think, somewhere thereabouts. So plenty of covers. I mean, maybe she missed a cover in between here or there. Maybe there's a fill-in artist, but she basically had that cover run for a good portion of this series, and these are all really fantastic covers. This was a great run of covers. If you can find any of these, you still can. I grab them now while you still can, because if we do ever get anything out of Afra, this is the type of stuff that is just going to get harder and harder to find. Just the regular old issues. Doesn't have to be keys or the first appearances or anything. Just even the regular issues could be tough because some of these covers are just fantastic. Granted, that Hera cover in the middle there could sell for a couple extra bucks because it has Hera featured on it. You don't see a lot of Hera in the in the comic books these days. Like, we know she was on Rebels, but in canon, there's not a lot of comic appearances for her character. But some of the other covers as well, like her with Black K, pretty cool cover on 34, and this is 1829. These are just some of the random issues I picked of covers that I liked. But just looking at the actual run, just kind of give you a baseline idea. You can see regular issues can sell for as little as like $4. It's like cover price. That this one right here with the Hera on the cover could sell for over 25, or like $10 for that Black K cover because maybe it's featuring Black K. It's all over the place right now, so keep an eye out when you're digging at your shops, because a lot of regular issue back issues could still just be cover price or even less. So maybe get them now, get the ones you like, or try to complete a run now before every one of these books end up being like a $10 book. Because that happens every once in a while, especially if something gets announced or that it's getting adapted. All of a sudden, inflation hits everything, and then it's hard to find any issue, let alone just the regular old common ones. And again, you can see those are where some sold prices were. Even now online, if you want to go shop, and you can still see $4, $20 for this Hera cover, $10 now and again. But it's basically cover price. Some of the issues might be asking 10, but you can usually find them pretty cheap. Just keep your eyes open, keep out there hunting, and keep digging. Now, apart from her Afra run, the other short run I think that she's pretty well known for is this run on X23. It's not very long. I think it's only like like 3 or 4 issues thereabouts, but it's still a couple of cool covers in this run. This right here is this issue 6 that I'm showing, and then she did a couple others as well. There's 7, there's 12. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's like half a dozen issues. Maybe it's a few more than I would have thought. Because I think I might have started at 6, maybe ran through 12. So 6, 7 issues with her covers aren't too bad, but I really like that number 12 personally. But these, even so, again, same with the Afras, you could probably find these in some overstock back issues, maybe even less than cover or just cover price at a shop. Just go and look and pick out the ones that you like now before they start getting more expensive. Copies can sell for $5. Copies could sell up to $10. It's really dependent on the market and when people are shopping for certain books. So prices can vary. And you can see even here with the asking prices, that same issue could be asking $5, it could be asking $15. And then one of the other ones, like I said, that I like is $9 there. So these could be cover, double cover, maybe a little bit more in some cases, but there's still a really good chance you can still find these at shops. So that's why I'm kind of letting you know it's just kind of tucked away in a overstock back issue bin somewhere where you can still get them, like I said, for cover, maybe even less if you're lucky. Again, I don't know how your shop's price. That's why I'm giving you all this market information. So this way, when you hit your shops, you know what the pricing should be and can be. So depending on what you find, then you can make the call of whether you're finding a deal or not. Because, hey, who knows? I can only speak for what's in front of me. I can't speak for what's in front of you because I don't travel that much. That all said, that was our quick artist retrospective on Ashley Witter. If you want to see more, she has plenty more cool books, cool covers. Share some. Just tag me in the comment section. Let me know what you think, what some of your favorites are. If you have them, take a picture on Instagram, like I said, and tag me. I love seeing comics and other people's collections, and so I have no problem with you guys sharing your PC books or your pickups with me because I love seeing that stuff. That said, let's move on to our next segment, which is going to shift on over into variants. And yes, as I have been lately, I'm still kind of tying in a little bit with my artists. So we're going to start off with a couple of Ashley Witter variants that you can still kind of possibly find for cheap. These low incentives. This is a 1 in 10. Granted, this is a 1 in 10 in an indie book that could be very, very tough to find, but I still wanted to tell you about it so you were aware of it. So this Mercy Sparks, issue 10. Now, I know we've known this. There's option news, or there was option news, caused the whole ruckus with the first issue, first appearance to go all bonkers for a little while there. But this is an issue 10, so later in the run, a 1 in 10. How many people are ordering 10 copies of Mercy Sparks? Probably not too many. Again, she went back to work with Devil's Due for this one. Copy sold only $30 back in April, but that's the only one I could find. One copy sold in 3 months. And when I went to look for what's available, I couldn't find any copies available. So again, maybe it could have been a contender for Chasing Ghosts this week. Could have covered this tomorrow, but it tied in with Ashley Witter. So I decided to do it today and just kind of mention it, just so you're aware of it, just so I'm aware of it, because I found it and learned about this book. I didn't know about it ahead of time before doing some of this research. And I said, you know what, this is some good information. So in case you guys find it, now you have a baseline for pricing if you can find it, because this may not be an easy one to track down. And the next one probably is going to be easier to track down because it's a very popular title and it's only a 1 in 10. And this is Fantastic Four, the current run. Issue 5 of it, so early on in the run, but issue 5, a 1 in 10. Plenty of variants for this particular issue, actually. But this 1 in 10 is Ashley Witter. So you don't see her doing many Marvel books like this, like with the superheroes, I should say. So her taking on the first family of Marvel was pretty interesting. Copies of this, very, very cheap. You might even find this thing for cover because look, sale price $6, $6 and change, and that was just about a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, June 13th. And then you can look asking prices. It's $5, starting $5, $8, $6. This is a 1 in 10, so getting it for cover That's a pretty solid price and solid pickup if you ask me. Not saying this is going to be worth a ton of money or anything like that. I'm just saying if you're looking for an interesting variant for Ashley Witter that could be found for cheap, this may be your ticket. Now, sticking with Fantastic Four, but not Ashley Witter in this case, going to go with another random variant that I think is worth keeping an eye out for. I found this one at a shop near me not that long ago. This is Fantastic Four 611. It's the Susan G. Komen for the Cure cover. So this had this whole there was like half dozen issues, maybe even up to 8. I don't remember the exact number, but there's a bunch of issues from Marvel for that month where they had special variant covers for for this cancer awareness basis. You got to find the pink stripe across the cover. There's an Iron Man, I know for sure, and a couple other books, but this is the Fantastic Four one that I really kind of like. Just something about the bright colors that make it really pop. Granted, this is 611. No issue sold within the last 3 months, and if you want to go shopping for prices, it can still be had for cheap. Look, $7, $10, $17. This is not an incentive. This is sort of a B variant. It could be a qualifying variant. I don't know all the details of how shops were able to get a hold of these, these cancer awareness books, but this is what came out for that month. And like I said, there's a few of them. There's a few that share this this little border down below. But I like this one in particular, so keep an eye out for that one because it's a pretty cool cover, I think. And with that, let's move on to our later print section. So for later prints, what do we want to cover? I mentioned last week that there are a lot of Amazing Spider-Man and a lot of X-Men books that have second prints that I'm just not aware of. They just threw them out there, and there they were. So we're going to look at a couple Spideys, I think, here to start. And the first one I've got for you is The Ends of the Earth. So this is the second print for issue 682. You can see this is 682, so this is coming near the end. Ends of the Earth. This is where Doc Ock basically takes over Spidey's body, and the consciousness slips in there. But this is leading up into it. Dan Slott's run. Pretty cool cover. You see the Doc Ock arms, the world behind Spidey. Pretty cool image. Now, this has sold for $15, $34. So it could do all right for a second print that's, not like a first appearance of anything that's like super expensive or super, like super key or anything like that. This is just kind of a second print that's just kind of tough, I think, or can be tough. And it's also reflected with some of these asking prices, 20 to 25 bucks, basically 9/8 asking, 285. So just something to be aware of. So if you find it in a box and it's like cover price, maybe pick this one up because it could get you a few bucks if you didn't know. And it's easy to mistake this one because the first print I think is very similar look to this second print as well. Now, the next issue I want to cover for Spidey is also Ends of the Earth 683. The next issue, we'll just connect there, and you can see Spidey with a different suit. You got the Avengers with him in the background. All white cover. Again, easy to confuse it, easy to flip past this because it doesn't jump out at you and it doesn't scream second print, even though it does say it up there at the top. Very small, right above the issue number. It does say second print variant. If you weren't aware, it is right up in there. And then, of course, you can also follow the whole barcode thing here. This is issue 683, volume 1 of ASM issue, cover 2, basically. Or first print, second print, not cover 2. Cover 1 of the second print. I'm sorry. I'm confused myself when going through those barcodes, but I knew what was in my head. It just wasn't getting translated that well to my mouth. Now this issue could sell for $15 to $20, kind of like the last one. Asking prices also kind of in that same range, $17, $21, 9/8 asking $380. I gotta imagine there's not a lot of 9/8s, a lot of graded copies of these books because they're second prints, but they look like they could command a premium. Granted, these are asking prices, not sales prices. Let's not confuse the two, but those are still what's out there if you were to be shopping. And if you did find one and you wanted to sell, this would be your competition. So keep that in mind as well. Moving on, Ends of the Earth 684. I think this might be the last one of this run that I'm covering for second prints, but I'm not sure. We'll see as we go along. Sandman here, and you got Black Widow, you got Silver Sable there. Pretty cool cover, pretty cool issue. Again, easy to pass by. It's a second print. It's about $17 this one. Copies sold recently. Asking prices as cheap as $12, can go up to 20. So still kind of in that same kind of range. So if you can find it, once again, cover price or just marked like regular issue in a back issue box or not marked or whatever, maybe the cover price or less. Who knows? Something to consider if you find it. And okay, that was it for my later prints. I just did Spidey this week and just went with those three. Because, not to be confused, these are later printings. These are not to be confused with another segment that I don't think I've done yet on this series, but I had it planned to do, and this is reprints. I know you're going to say, what's the difference between reprints and later printings? Well, the difference here is Marvel back in the day had a lot of volumes of titles that were basically just reprinting their old stories, but they had their own, special titles like Marvel Fantasy Masterpieces did all of the Silver Surfer books. There's Marvel's Greatest Comics. There's a Marvel. I don't know, not 2-in-1, but there's a lot of these types of books that feature reprints of their classic issues. So here's Marvel's Greatest Comics, which basically reprints most of the Fantastic Four's run. So this issue here, different cover art. You're looking at it like, what is this? Well, if you weren't aware of what's inside the guts of this issue 35 of Marvel's Greatest Comics, this is a reprint of Fantastic Four number 48 inside of here. So it's something different. It's not a later printing. It's a completely different title, but it is a reprint of FF48, first appearance of Silver Surfer. Again, one of my favorite books, one of my grails. Thankfully, I do have the original, but this is just a book for people who have gotten priced out of Fantastic 448 and don't want to buy one of the facsimiles or those types of reprints. This is another option. This is something different for you to hunt and go find. And this is another option that maybe you can find in a box somewhere marked for cheap, because again, this is not a title people are hunting for, people are asking for and searching for. But that said, these are still titles that can do well on the aftermarket if you know the ones to pick out and ones to look for. So if you hit like a flea market and you find this run of what the hell are these Marvel's Greatest Comics? I don't want to pay $3-4 for this thing. Maybe you should, because some of these things can sell for decent money. Like this one could sell for $15 to $30, basically. If you get it in decent shape. Granted, a lot of these could be banged up, but you get one in decent shape, you could do all right. Asking prices on this, 25, $30. You can see there's a run of 3 issues asking $40. I'm not saying these are setting the world on fire or anything, but still, these are fun little books to know and good little things just to have in your mental Rolodex in case you find these weird off titles that you don't even know what this is. Because this is the type of thing where you can just flip through in a box and be like, I don't know what this is. Marvel's Greatest Comics. It sounds like some sort of weird knockoff, some like little like news strips or some collection of stories that nobody. No, these are collections of those classic tales, those classic issues that you should be mindful of. So let's keep an eye on a couple of these. This was issue 35 of Marvel's Greatest Comics. And then, as you might guess, in issue number 36, if the last one covered 48, you better believe this one covers issue 49. One of my favorite covers and another great book to have. I have this book, thankfully, as well. Again, I'm a huge Silver Surfer fan, huge Galactus fan. Can't wait for the two of them to show up in the MCU. Hopefully done right. Not some weird smoke cloud, but let's see what happens. But still an interesting option here. If you got priced out of 49 of Fantastic Four, maybe you get Marvel's Greatest Comics issue 36 and you get the story inside. I know it's not the same book, but it is the same book. I don't know. It's something weird for you to collect. It is a reprint. Not to be confused, it is a reprint, but it's still an interesting little thing to find and a little fun little thing to have in your collection, I think. And if you find it for cheap enough, maybe you can make a few bucks. Again, 15 to $30 these things could sell for. Asking prices, look, one's really cheap, but granted, that one looks pretty beat for $4, but $20 raw, 9.6 asking $350. You get high grade copies of these ones, you still might be able to make a pretty penny if you can get them graded and get them back in a decent CGC grade. Who knows? And just to finish off that trilogy of covers, let's look. Yeah, so Fantastic Four number 50 covered here, finishing off that Galactus Silver Surfer story. But this is issue 37 of Marvel's Greatest Comics, so keep an eye out for this one as well. Again, you can see different cover. It's like they were way ahead of where we are now with our later printings and second printings when they decided to do this. New cover art and all of that. Really cool stuff. Granted, this one could sell for as cheap as 99 cents. Even online, you can find some of these to go for pretty cheap. $2, $10, and those are for multiple issues there. These things can still sell for cheap online, but at the same time, you can see them asking for a few bucks more. $8 to 13 is not that much. This one's not that in demand, but this is also issue 50 of Fantastic Four, which isn't also in as much demand as 48 and 49 are. Yes, it's part of the trilogy those trilogy of issues, that story arc, but it's not as popular, unfortunately, as far as pricing goes. Let's move on to issue 39. And issue 39, we are skipping This Man, This Monster, but we are skipping to issue 39 of Marvel's Greatest Comics because look what we have there in the background. Yes, this is the first appearance, reprinted, of Black Panther and Fantastic 452. This was an epic run. If you didn't know that already, which you probably already do, but if you didn't know, like this run of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby was just fantastic. This is like an epic run where they had Galactus, Silver Surfer, you had the Humans in there, you had Black Panther first showing up. Uh, just a great run, and Adam Warlock coming not too much longer after that. But here we have first appearance of Black Panther, King of Wakanda, in this reprinted Marvel Greatest Comics issue number 39. So, as you might guess, this one does all right too. This one does all right on the back issue market. Granted, you can sneak copies for like $2, $8, $14, and then you look at the asking prices, 12 to 20. Does okay. Like I said, these are reprints. You can still probably find these in dollar bins. You can still probably find them in dollar bins, but just be aware of what they are. And I mentioned Adam Warlock. We are getting him in Guardians of the Galaxy, Part 3. So issue 50 of Marvel's Greatest Comics here is an easy one to pull out and notice because they didn't change the cover on this one. It's basically just kind of a reworked version of the original Fantastic Four number 67. First appearance, well, arguable. I mean, you got the Thor books as well, but him, Adam Warlock, in this issue. So this one is also done pretty well, but I think it's also the recognition that the cover is the same. So I think it catches people's eyes. So that's why you can see it can sell for, $30, 10 to $30, anywhere in that range. Asking prices on this one as well, $15, $25, $20. Just something to know. Just good stuff to know. I think I got another segment for you following up on those reprints. I got plenty more. There's a lot of those reprints out there because, like I said, there's a whole nother title that covers the Cap books, Avengers, a lot of stuff that you can get some of those classic books that maybe you can't afford for a cheaper option, at least for now, placeholder even. But right now, let's go over to my nostalgia picks. And just released, I think this past weekend, was that Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. So let's look at some Beavis and Butthead comics because there was a whole run. There's a whole run for Marvel Comics. This is issue 1. I'm sure you've seen this many times before. It still does all right. All these years later, you can still find yourself a Beavis and Butthead 1 and make a couple of bucks on it if you find it for cheap. And then there's a few issues throughout the series. Anything that has the girls on it are probably going to do better. So issue 4, issue 9, these things command a minor premium, as you can see from some of the prices here. With the sold prices, you can get $12, $8, $9, $5. Like, yeah, this is stuff you can still probably find in dollar bins. I found Beavis and Butthead books in those dollar bins plenty of times before, and I picked them up plenty of times before. So you can grab them for $1 or less. Maybe they're less than cover. Who knows how they're going to be priced at your place, at your shop? Maybe you go to half price books and you find these things at a discount, less than cover, maybe just cover price. Things for you to consider if you're interested, and you can see how some of them can do a few bucks more than normal. And then you can look, issue 1 asking $13. Some of those other issues asking, $7, $8. Again, this is not huge returns. These are just kind of fun little books that you can go and dig out of those back issue bins for cheap, and that I think are still kind of interesting. And much like I've keep saying on so many of these different shows, last issues. So of course, if you're not surprised, the final issue of the Beavis and Butthead run, issue 28, the fabulous last issue, obviously does better than most. And in this case, this thing could sell for $60, $75, $100. Those are recent sales, all in June. So these aren't like aged. These are all within the last few weeks. These 3 sales, all raw, of this particular book. So be mindful of this one in particular when you hit Beavis and Butthead in those back issue bins. I didn't know to look for this one when I have found this in the past, so I don't think I have this one anywhere. But now I know, and I won't forget it the next time. Because asking prices, look, $33. That one still has 7 days left at auction. And then that's the only single copy I found at the time when I grabbed these. And then there's the whole lots. And you can look, the whole lot of Beavis and Butthead, 28 issues, $300, $380. So if you can get lucky and find these like in like a whole run for $1, like $1 a piece, you spend under $30 and you can turn around for 300 plus, you would do all right and probably be pretty happy with that. But again, just fun stuff to keep an eye out for. That's all I'm looking to do. All I'm looking to do is share some information. You guys do with it what you like. I know not every one of these books that I talk about is going to be for everybody, but I'm trying to spread it around, reach everybody, get the newer collectors, the older collectors, give you something weird, give you something very, very familiar, things that you may know about, things you may not know about. That's kind of what I'm shooting for by doing this series. And hopefully you're still enjoying that and still enjoying the rest of the stuff here on the channel. Thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate you checking this out and supporting the channel. This is the first video I'm going to record before Star Wars, and I'm going to try to do Chasing Ghosts as well real quick before we hop over and do the live show, which we do every Wednesday and Sunday here on Rennavision. So make sure you check out those live shows as well. Join the chat. It's a hell of a good time, and the chat makes the shows. It makes me, it's the only reason why I do the live shows is because I love engaging with the chat and seeing all the familiar faces and familiar handles and names, I should say. And with that, thanks again. I'll have more content coming your way, as always, and take it easy.